بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا العبد المؤيد والوعد المسدد الناشر لكلمة قل هو الله أحد أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا إمام المتقين ورحمة الله وبركاته. أما بعد فقد قال الله في محكم كتابه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون. Beginning yesterday after the majlis, I heard very unfortunate news in New Jersey. There's a mosque, the imam was praying Fajr prayers, and a person came in the middle of the prayers and stabbed the imam 2 times. And this mosque is a very peaceful mosque. I've prayed at it many times. Many times when I need to pray Dhuhr prayers, Asr prayers. And this is something that we have to fix within our communities. Majority of the time when I'm traveling around and I need a place to pray, I gave up on Googling a Shia mosque because the Shia mosque during prayer time is closed. Friday, maybe they're open. Thursday night they're open. The rest of the time it's closed. It's not open for prayers. And us being the representatives of the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam, our imam, even on the day of Ashura, at the time of war, when it was time for prayers, he prayed. And so we have to be an example for this. And we condone and we condemn any act of violence, especially to our brothers, regardless of what school. Yes, we have many differences between them, absolutely. However, they were praying Fajr prayers in Ramadan, and this is not acceptable, and we will always keep them in our prayers. Secondly, yesterday I was thinking a lot of how is Imam Ali different? Especially us in 2023, now when we have the history books in between us, and we want to judge those that were before us. We want to find a proper guide. How is he different than anyone else? And what I keep noticing is that all of the narrations that are in praise of Ali ibn Abi Talib do not necessarily come from those that love him. They come from those that are indifferent to him. They come from those that are enemies to him. However, sometimes it gets to a point where you cannot help but feel angry. One hadith I crossed by yesterday, it says the first Khalifa, Abu Bakr, was sitting down with his companions, a group of people, and he said, is there anyone in which Rasulullah owes him anything? Because Rasulullah just died. So if Rasulullah owes you anything, let me know. At the beginning of this hadith, I was like, okay, maybe there's some good intention here. So if Rasulullah owes anything, I'm his Khalifa now, I'm going to repay it. Even though it looks like as if it's something very, like you're trying to expose the disrespect to Prophet Muhammad in our history books. It's just very unbelievable. So one person stood up and said, yes, me. What does Rasulullah owe you? He said 3 baskets of dates. He took them from me and he never returned it to me. So he said, 3 baskets of dates. The Khalifa doesn't have 3 baskets of dates. He says, go to Ali ibn Abi Talib and tell him. So he went to Imam Ali. And he told them, he said, Abu Bakr said that you are the successor of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And you owe me 3 baskets of dates. I imagine, like, you try to put your shoes in the shoes of the Imam. Like, what do you tell this guy? Where you're coming from, what you want, whatever. He takes the 3 baskets of dates, he gives it to him. This person goes back to Abu Bakr and he says, I have the 3 baskets of dates. He said, show them to me. He showed them to me. He started to count the dates. In every single basket, there were 60. So how do you say, Sadaqa Rasulullah? That means Rasulullah was honest. When he said, my scale in justice is exactly like Ali's scale in justice. In every basket, there's 60. Now a person can easily say, what? This doesn't make sense. You know, why would he automatically say that this person is the successor? Why would he admit this to himself? I don't think making sense was ever an issue. This is not something they ever worried about. In Islamic TikTok right now, and I have the clip saved on my phone, this person, he goes and he says, Sayyiduna Harmala, radiyallahu an, kana min al-munafiqeen. Our master Harmala, may Allah be pleased with him, used to be a hypocrite. You want to make sense of it? Make sense of it. You don't have to. Don't trouble yourself in making sense of anything. Because sometimes we have a foundation that's not built on making sense. And this is sometimes what you have to deal with. And then you try to make sense of it, and the other person is not worried about it making sense. He says, well, it existed. It's another hadith. They say one time Umar ibn Khattab was walking with Abdullah ibn Abbas. And these are what I call when 2 criminals testify to each other. While they're talking, Umar ibn Khattab goes to Abdullah ibn Abbas and he says, I'm hearing news that your father claims that Rasulullah appointed Ali ibn Abi Talib for the Khilafah. Abdullah ibn Abbas said yes. And he believes that you guys took it from him. Umar ibn Khattab tells Abdullah ibn Abbas. He said, do you know that the Prophet wanted to say his name before he died? And I prevented him? Umar ibn Khattab clearly testifies. He said, and I prevented him. Wallahi, like by God, Quraysh will never accept Ali ibn Abi Talib as a Khalifa. Because again, when they look at Rasulullah, they don't look at Rasulullah as وَمَا يَنْطُقَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. They don't look at, no, he's my equal. Right? He thinks that this is good, I think otherwise. I use my thought over your thought, that's it. And Umar al-Khattab was true in the fact that if they gave the bay'ah to Ali ibn Abi Talib, they would not let Ali ibn Abi Talib sit. And there's a reason for that. The reason is Ali ibn Abi Talib, in all the wars that he was with the Prophet ﷺ, he did not blink an eye. When somebody came to him and it was time to kill, he will kill. Done and finished, end of story. I don't care who you are, who your father is, nothing matters to me. He sold his soul to Rasulullah. Done. The others, it's a 50-50. He says, okay, if I kill this person, and then Prophet Muhammad dies tomorrow, then Quraysh is going to go against me. If I kill this person is the master of Quraysh. It's going to put me in a very bad situation. They did the math, basically, and make sure that they're safe on both sides. This is why none of the 3 Khulafa have recorded killing a single person. And they didn't do it out of pure cowardice, even though there is definitely cowardice. Like, for example, in the Battle of Uhud, Uthman ibn Affan, he ran away until he got to Jordan. It took him 3 days just to come back. Right? And in Bukhari, when he finally arrived, the Prophet told him, he said, where have you been? He said, if a person runs, run a normal amount. But majority of this was they were not sure that Islam was going to be successful. So they wanted to make sure that they keep their allies. And over here, we see that the Imam was kept in such a position that at the end he had the community of Islam in his hands. And the community betrayed him. The community turned their back against him, absolutely. Nobody would have blamed the Imam if he turned his back also. But that's not what the Imam does. You know, the first person to come to Ali ibn Abi Talib after Saqifa was Abu Sufyan. And Abu Sufyan went to him. And he was very upset that Abu Bakr took the Khilafah for main reasons. Because Abu Bakr comes from Ibn Taym. Taym is a very, very low-class tribe in Quraysh. And Abu Sufyan, with the caste system of the Jahiliyyah, when he sees this person as the leader, and he was the master of Quraysh at the time, this thing really upset him. He said, I'd rather have Bani Hashim take it than Bani Taym. I mean, that was very insulting to his own character. So he went to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he said, listen, I'm Abu Sufyan. In Jahiliyyah, you know, they're still alive. I could get all the tribes of Arabia to come around with any swords you need, any horsemen you need, any camels you need, and take your Khilafah. So Ali ibn Abi Talib looked at him. He said, Abu Sufyan, you in Jahiliyyah after Islam. This is a very important trend in the history of the Imams. Is that the Imams, when they take a position, politically, they could have an ally. They could have an ally and be victorious. And then after that, they could backstab somebody else. And then there is a clear line over there. But they never choose that route. For example, Imam Hussain ﷺ, right? In Karbala, before he entered Karbala, when he refused to give bay'ah to Yazid, easily he could have made an ally with Abdullah bin Zubayr that was in Mecca. Even Abdullah bin Zubayr told him, stay here. And Abdullah bin Zubayr had allies. But Imam Hussain, he said, I want to make sure that my message is not going to be aligned with the message of those that want this dunya. Otherwise, can we get it? Yes. But either it goes in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, for his Khilafah, he had a strategy. And it was a brilliant strategy. The strategy was, number one, the people that are in the opposition, which was Ali ibn Abi Talib, Salman, Abu Dhar, Miqdad. These people, he says, you guys stay silent. None of us are going to speak. The person that we're going to speak, the person that's going to be our spokesperson in the opposition is going to be Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salatu. That was the plan. The plan is she speaks. Why? Because when she speaks, number one, she's the daughter of Rasulullah. Number two, if Ali ibn Abi Talib had blood on his hands, Fatima doesn't. So there's no objection over there. Number three, because in Sunni theology, whoever dies without giving bay'ah dies the death of Jahiliyyah. Now you give this to any person. Sayyidah Fatima ﷺ died and she did not have a bay'ah to Abu Bakr with the consensus of the Muslims. So now you have your option. Either Abu Bakr's Khilafah was legitimate, then Sayyidah Fatima ﷺ died the death of Jahiliyyah. And not a single Muslim is willing to even utter this. Or the other option, in which because Sayyidah Fatima ﷺ did not give the bay'ah, who are we to give the bay'ah? And the hadith that say Ali ibn Abi Talib gave the bay'ah after 6 months, all of them are falsified. And the reason why they're falsified is, number one, if you were to look at the history of these things, you'll see that there's only one narration. And the narration comes from only one party. And that's it. And so you're going to take this and you're going to refuse everything else? So for example, a lot of popular beliefs that we ended up accepting just because we decided not to make this our war. For example, things that went missing. And this, I think we owe a debt to Imam Ali to at least mention his family, because the whole family of Ali ibn Abi Talib is oppressed. His father. For anybody that says, oh, why do you guys talk about the companions? Easy. Every day I hear that Abu Talib died kafir, as if that's the only That's the only subject that's there. I remember one of my friends from the Sunni school. This was last year. His father passed away. We went to the funeral. Salat al-Janazah. We went inside. Pray Salat al-Janazah. The Imam goes up, he starts to speak. And he says, no, alhamdulillah, he died a Muslim. Now we're here, funeral, not lecture, not majlis, not nothing. He says, I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided him. And you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides only the people that He chooses. And you know, the same way Abu Talib went to hellfire, because you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you do not guide whoever you want to guide, whatever. So alhamdulillah, he's not like Abu Talib. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what about Abu Talib into this? Yeah, you have to stuff it in every 5 seconds. So okay, no problem, we'll stop, you stop. Abu Talib, number one. No problem. Abdul Muttalib, Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. Where is he? We have a hadith, mashallah, because we have a hadith for everything. One time a person went to Rasulullah and he said, what happens to my father? Is he going to go to hell? He said, yes, he's going to go to hell. He started to crying. Prophet Muhammad came to me and said, he said, my father and your father, they're both in hell. Mashallah, we have a club there. Come on. Okay, no problem. Talib. That's a Shia brother. Who's Talib? Talib is the oldest brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib. What happened to him? If you look at the poetries of Abu Talib, towards the end of his life, there's a lot of wasiyah before he passed away, where he tells Talib, make sure that you do not betray Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and make sure whatever he asks for you do, and make sure that you support him in everything. This was the wasiyah to his oldest son. And Talib, after the Battle of Badr, disappeared from the face of history. And always remember, when you find these people that disappear from the face of history, remember that they have a footprint, they have a fingerprint in making Islam victorious. And Bani Umayyah wanted to make sure that there's no mention of these people. Always. Aqil. Aqil to us is very, very oppressed. Because every story we have about Aqil, horrible. He wanted money one time. This is the major narration that we know. Aqil wanted money. He was in debt, 20,000 dirham. He went to Ali ibn Abi Talib. He told him, I have a very big debt. It's killing me. He said, how much is your debt? He said, 20,000 dirham. He said, okay. He said, wait for the end of the month, when I get my ata, when I get my income, I'll give you some of it. And wallahi, if it's not for what my children and my family needs, I would have given you all of it. He looks at you, he said, how much is your income? He said, 300 dirham. He said, I'm telling you I'm in debt 20,000 dirham. You're telling me your income is 300, you're going to give me some of it. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, where do you want me to give you? He said, the house of the treasury is in your hands. You're the Khalifa. Ali ibn Abi Talib smiled at him. He said, why wait for me to open up the house of the treasury? He said, in a few minutes it's going to be Salat al-Dhuhr. And Salat al-Dhuhr, the loan sharks at the time, the people that were giving out loans, the Sarafa, basically the Islamic banks, he said, they'll keep their money on the streets while they go pray. He said, you go there and pick it up. Okay, he said, astaghfirullah, you want me to touch the money of the Muslims? And he said, you want me to go touch the money of Allah for you? This is the only story that we know about Aqil. Do you know, and this is for something we accept, everybody thinks, this is what we say, who was the first person to accept Islam? Ali ibn Abi Talib. And the Sunni school said he was the first kid that accepted Islam, and the first man that accepted Islam was Abu Bakr. Yeah. I challenge anybody to give me one hadith that can prove that Abu Bakr accepted Islam first. It doesn't exist. People that accepted Islam. First one, Khadija. Let's Ali was a kid. We're going to disqualify Ali ibn Abi Talib. Khadija. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. Zayd ibn Haritha, his son, his adopted son. Aqil. Aqil was the fourth person to accept Islam. Then you have Abu Hudayfa. Then you have Ibn al-Bakkar, around 14, 15 people that accepted before. When did he accept Islam? When did he, if you want to find a correct narration, when did he accept Islam? 1.5 years before the Hijrah, at the time of Mi'raj. This is the history. Umar ibn Khattab accepted Islam very late too. They all accepted Islam late. While they were busy in the times of shirk, who was there in Islam? It was the family. Aqil, during the time of, during the Battle of Siffin, he was in Medina. Him and his kids. And Aqil had a lot of kids. Many children. He had around 6 to 7 wives. His sons, they go up to 18 children. 18 boys. And around 22 girls. And his money situation, also not very well. He heard news that the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib were leaving. Were leaving him, they were betraying him. So Aqil sends a letter. The way Aqil writes a letter. He says, to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, from his humble brother Aqil. You know the age difference between the two? Aqil is 20 years older than Ali ibn Abi Talib. He starts off with saying, no, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali. He says, I hear that you are in a situation of betrayal. If you want me and my children right now, with a signal from you, we will be at your side. He wants to make sure his brother is good. Ali ibn Abi Talib responds. He says, stay where you are. I need a person representing me in Medina. Because he left Medina at the time. What's interesting about Aqil, all of his boys, they married their cousins, which are the daughters of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the daughters of Imam Hussain, and the daughters of Imam Hassan. All of the boys of Muslim ibn Aqil died in Karbala. He gave them. See, this is Aqil is one of those people. Yes, all of them. We know there's no other Ma'sumin other than the Ma'sumin, right? However, imagine us. Are we horrible people? Let's say, for example, let's say one of our people becomes like a mayor in the community, gets a stance in the community, and you ask him for a favor. Maybe it's not the best favor in the world. Yes, it's gonna happen. But if you see what Aqil gave to Islam, he gave all of his children and died in Karbala, except for one person, which was Muslim ibn Aqil, who died in Kufa. That was Aqil. It's something. When you compare it to, for example, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, who the Imams insist, Muhammad is the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. However, the Imams insist on never calling him the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They refer him back to his mom. For a very particular reason. Because at the time that Imam Hussain wanted to leave, Muhammad Hanafiya tried to stop him. That's number one. Number two, Muhammad Hanafiya locked his kids from having any contact from Imam Hussain. Muhammad Hanafiya had 14 children. Not one of them died in Karbala. Not one of them attended. It's very, very interesting contrast that you see over here. And so Ali ibn Abi Talib was always challenged with this when it came to his when it came to his knowledge, when it came to his khilafah. And it got to the point where it got really, really, we didn't know the right word to use, but it's really annoying. One time a group of people, they said, they asked Ali ibn Abi Talib, how come every time we ask you a question, you answer it? He said, how many fingers do you have in your hand? He said, 5. He said, all the knowledge of the world is like this to me. He said, it's as if I'm looking at your 5 fingers. I know where everything is. So one time they wanted to do a distraction for him. The Imam was in the middle of the prayer. He just finished the Iqamah. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. He was about to do Takbirat al-Ihram. 3 people, mashallah, geniuses, he asked him. He said, what's the difference between an animal that's pregnant and an animal that lays eggs? So that's the perfect question between the Iqamah and Takbirat al-Ihram. The Imam said, the one that you can see its ears gets pregnant, and the ones in which its ears are hidden lays eggs. Allahu Akbar. Now go look back to scientists. Any animal you can't see its ears lays eggs. Any animal you can see its ears gets pregnant. It was a night like this, on the night of the 20th. He kept replying. He kept saying this. Saluni, Saluni. Ask me before you lose me. Because I know about the ways of the heavens more than I know about the ways of the earth. Of course, again, like Imam Ali was kept at a time that was really not his time. Where Imam Ali used to go to Kumail. Kumail is considered one of his greatest companions. And he would complain. He'd be like, Inna lahuna ilmun jannah. I said, over here there's a lot of knowledge, but there's no one to take it. He's telling this to Kumail. He's like, even you, Kumail, you're not worthy of this knowledge. There's no way you can handle it. You know, when a person is of that form and of that status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously, in this world, he's very, very lonely. He is alone. There's a narration from Qambar. He said, one time I saw Ali ibn Abi Talib waking up in the middle of the night. He slept maybe 10, 20 minutes during the time of his khilafah. He wanted to wake up to pray Salat al-Layl. But it's to the point that he was so sleepy that he would hang onto the wall just so he could keep his balance. Umar looked at him and he said, Imam, he said, why don't you take a rest? Sleep a little bit, and then can continue your prayer. The Imam said, if I sleep in the daytime, I lose my people. So I'm responsible for them. I'm their Imam. I have to guide them. And if I sleep at night, I lose myself. Because the only friend I have, see the du'as of Ramadan, if you see, some of them narrated from Ali ibn Abi Talib. He says, Ya uddati fi shiddat. He says, you are my support in my hardship. Right? You are my friend in my loneliness. These are the times of Ramadan, the munajat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, inshallah, when we recite it tomorrow. When he says, Mawla, Ya Mawla. Right? When you see the du'as of Ali ibn Abi Talib, how he talks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look into du'a Kumail. When he says, Ilahi wa in sabartu ala harri narik. Oh Allah, if I can be patient on the heat of your hellfire. Yeah, this hellfire, I'm not buying it for 2 pennies. I don't care for the hellfire. He says, if I'll be patient on the hellfire, فَكَيْفَ أَصْبِرُ عَلَى فِرَاقِكَ. How can I be patient on my separation between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It said of this night, they caught Abdul Rahman ibn Muljam. They put him. And they summoned the physician to come to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Kulthum went to Abdul Rahman ibn Muljam and said, أَأَنْتَ قَتَلْتَ أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ? Are you the one that killed Amir al-Mu'mineen? Abdul Rahman ibn Muljam looked in complete arrogance and he said, I killed your father. I said, this name Amir al-Mu'mineen, The physician went, put a piece of cloth into the wound of Ali ibn Abi Talib and he saw the whiteness that comes from the brain. And he said, recite your wasiyah. I want you, brothers and sisters, to imagine at this time. He said, the best thing that you can give him at this point is milk. Give him milk. Imam Hassan narrates, he said, when the people of Kufa, when the people of Kufa learned that Ali ibn Abi Talib was wounded and he is prescribed milk, there was a line of 400 orphan children waiting outside the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen. They were knocking the door. Imam Hussain used to come out and he said, we hear that our father needs some milk to get better. Please take this cup of milk for him. The Imam would look at these orphans. He would go, he'd take this cup of milk, he would give it to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Ali used to drink only half of the cup. He will drink half and he says, oh my son Hassan, I swear to you, you have to give our guest Abdurrahman ibn Muljim the same as I'm drinking. This is how Ali ibn Abi Talib treats his guests. It got to the point, Ali ibn Abi Talib went to Abdurrahman ibn Muljim and said, I have a question for you. أَبِئْسَ الْإِمَامُ كُنْتُ لَكَ? Was I a bad imam for you? But I want you to notice one thing. Ali ibn Abi Talib was struck. Around him is his family. Around him is Zainab alayhi salatu wasalam. Around him are his children. Around him are the orphans that love him. I want to take you to a day. Where Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salatu wasalam, she looks around. There is nobody around Hussein. There is nobody around him. Except for the arrows. Except for the seat of Shimr ibn Joseph. Over here, this is when Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salatu wasalam says, when did Imam Ali die? Sayyidah Zainab says, Al-Yawma mata Jadd al-Rasul, day of Ashura, today Rasulullah died. Al-Yawma matat al-Batul, today my mother Fatima died. Al-Yawma mata Jaddi Ali ibn Abi Talib. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your desires. Ya Allah, Allahumma salli ala